What if staying in the UK could be the biggest regret of your life by 2030? Sounds extreme? Well, consider this. Over 550,000 people left the UK in just 1 year, more than any time in the past decade. That's not tourism, that's exodus. People are quietly packing up, leaving behind their homes, careers, and entire lives. Why? Because something is deeply wrong and it's not getting better. The cost of living has shot up so fast that even middle-class families are now skipping meals or choosing between heating and eating. NHS waiting times are now longer than ever. House prices are unreachable for first-time buyers. Floods are sweeping homes, trains are being cancelled weekly, and politicians seem more interested in Twitter spats than solving real issues. And here's the kicker. Most of this isn't reversible. These problems are not short-term glitches. They are signs of a system slowly collapsing. But what if this isn't the country you want to raise your children in? What if you had a chance to get out before things get worse? In this video, we're diving deep into the 10 most shocking reasons why leaving the UK before 2030 might be the smartest decision you'll ever make. Watch till the end. Reason number 7 will leave you stunned. Number 1. Skyrocketing cost of living. Think the cost of living in the UK is bad now? Brace yourself, because it's about to get a lot worse. Over the past 3 years, inflation has hit levels not seen in decades. As of late 2024, the UK's inflation rate hovered around 6.7%. And while it's dipped slightly in 2025, prices are still up over 20% compared to pre-pandemic levels. It's not just numbers on a chart. It's your weekly food shop costing £30 more, your energy bills doubling, and rent eating up over half your income. For many, even essentials are becoming luxuries. A recent survey revealed that 1 in 5 adults in the UK are skipping meals due to financial strain. Think about that. Families with full-time jobs going hungry, parents choosing between school shoes or school lunches, elderly citizens living in freezing homes just to save on heating. The housing situation is no better. Rental prices in cities like London and Manchester have spiked by over 15% in a single year. Young people are being forced to move back in with parents, while professionals are crammed into shared housing just to stay afloat. And don't count on relief anytime soon. Energy prices are still volatile. Grocery inflation is expected to remain high due to supply chain issues and geopolitical tensions. Public wages aren't keeping up, and benefits are being slashed. Meanwhile, the government's response has been lukewarm at best. Pledges of support often come late and help few. This isn't just an economic hiccup, it's a structural crisis. So ask yourself, how long can you survive in a place where living costs rise, but your income doesn't? When survival becomes a monthly calculation, maybe it's time to rethink where you live. Because if affording life is a luxury, then staying becomes a risk. And this is just reason number 1. Number 2. Crumbling public services. Once the pride of the nation, the UK's public services are now hanging by a thread, and it's impacting millions. Let's start with the NHS. Once a global model for universal healthcare, it's now overwhelmed, understaffed, and dangerously underfunded. In some regions, waiting times for routine surgeries stretch over 18 months. Emergency departments are overflowing, and critical patients are being treated in corridors due to bed shortages. If you have a health emergency today, getting timely help isn't guaranteed. Then there's public transport. Trains delayed or cancelled with no explanation, bus routes slashed in rural areas, and rail strikes that feel never-ending. For many, commuting has turned into a daily gamble. Schools? Teachers are leaving in record numbers. Class sizes are growing, budgets are shrinking, and extracurriculars are vanishing. Students in deprived areas are especially affected, creating a growing education gap. Even police response times are worsening. Communities report waiting hours, or even days, for help with serious incidents. Social care services are collapsing under demand, leaving the elderly and vulnerable in limbo. This isn't alarmism. It's the reality for millions of citizens trying to live their daily lives with basic services in disrepair. And as resources stretch thinner, the situation is only getting worse. So here's the question. What happens when your country can't even provide the basics? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you personally seen a decline in public services? And if you're finding this video eye-opening, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next reason. It only gets more intense from here. Number 3. Political instability and policy uncertainty. Let's be real. Can you name the last time a UK Prime Minister lasted a full term without controversy, scandal, or sudden resignation? The political carousel in the UK has spun so wildly in recent years that it's hard to keep track. Since Brexit, the country has been in a near-constant state of identity crisis. Every few months brings a new policy shift, a new budget reversal, or another leader stepping down. For regular citizens, it's chaos disguised as leadership. One moment, taxes are going up. The next, they're being cut, then quietly raised again through stealth levies. Housing policies flip-flop. Immigration rules are rewritten overnight. It's like trying to build your future on quicksand. Businesses are just as shaken. Investors hesitate, startups stall, and even multinational companies are questioning whether to keep their headquarters here. When economic decisions are made on the fly and political promises change with the wind, stability becomes a luxury. And behind all the noise? A growing sense of distrust. Voter turnout is dropping, young people feel disconnected, and the line between leadership and theatrics is becoming dangerously thin. This isn't just about who's in charge. It's about living in a country where the future feels like a guessing game. And for many, that's just too high a price to pay. Number 4. Economic decline and wage stagnation. Let's talk money. Not the kind you dream of, but the kind you're watching disappear. The UK economy is in slow motion. Growth is sluggish, productivity has flatlined, and wages stuck in place. In fact, after adjusting for inflation, the average UK worker is earning less now than they did in 2008. That's over 15 years with virtually no real pay increase. Meanwhile, essentials like food, transport, and housing continue to climb. So, even if you technically earn more, it doesn't stretch like it used to. For many, payday vanishes the moment bills are paid. Disposable income? Practically a myth. And this stagnation isn't just hitting entry-level workers. Even professionals, nurses, engineers, teachers are feeling the squeeze. When middle-class careers can't offer financial stability, something's fundamentally broken. Young people are particularly hard hit. A generation raised on the promise that education equals success now faces student debt, high rent, and jobs that barely pay enough to live. They're being called lazy by politicians while hustling through 2 jobs just to survive. What's worse? The future doesn't look brighter. The UK's economic forecast remains gloomy. Trade disruptions post-Brexit, reduced foreign investment, and a shrinking workforce due to emigration all contribute to the decline. It's a cycle. Low wages lead to lower spending, which hurts businesses, which leads to fewer jobs and more cuts, and round it goes. Now add in automation. As companies try to cut costs, more jobs are being replaced by AI or outsourced. The few roles that remain are more competitive, more demanding, and still don't pay enough. So while the headlines boast about GDP rebounds or stock market gains, real people are asking a different question. Why does it still feel like I'm drowning? If a hard day's work no longer guarantees a decent life, maybe the problem isn't you. Maybe it's where you're trying to build your future. Number 5. Rising xenophobia and tensions. There's a quiet shift happening across the UK, one that doesn't always make headlines, but is felt in glances, heard in conversations, and lived daily by millions. The rise in xenophobia over the last few years isn't just a fringe issue. Hate crimes against ethnic minorities and immigrants have surged, particularly after political flashpoints like Brexit. Home Office data shows that racially or religiously aggravated offenses have climbed steadily, with some years seeing double-digit percentage increases. This isn't just about politics, it's personal. Families who've called the UK home for generations now feel like outsiders. Children are bullied in schools for accents, skin color, or last names. Professionals face microaggressions in offices and subtle discrimination during job hunts. Even public spaces can feel hostile, where one wrong look or overheard accent invites harassment. And the rhetoric from the top hasn't helped. Politicians have used immigration as a scapegoat for economic and social issues, fueling division for votes. The media amplifies this with headlines that demonize migrants and asylum seekers, casting shadows of suspicion on entire communities. The result? A divided society, neighborhoods turning insular, people retreating from public life. The unspoken rule becoming, keep your head down, don't attract attention. The emotional cost is high. Anxiety, isolation, and fear now shadow what should be everyday experiences, like going to school, shopping, or applying for a job. These aren't isolated incidents, they are a pattern. And for those raising multicultural families, the question becomes heartbreaking. Do I want my children to grow up feeling ashamed of who they are? If safety, belonging, and dignity are starting to feel like privileges, not rights, then maybe it's time to ask, is this the kind of country you want to build your future in? Because the wounds of division run deep, and they don't heal easily. Number 6. Housing crisis and ownership collapse. For most people, owning a home is the ultimate symbol of stability. In the UK today, it's more like a fantasy. Over the past decade, house prices have soared, while wages have stayed stagnant. According to the Office for National Statistics, the average home now costs nearly 9 times the average salary. For young adults, getting on the property ladder often means decades of saving, help from parents, or taking on unaffordable debt. In many cities, even that's not enough. And it's not just about buying. Renters are being crushed too. In places like London, rent for a one-bedroom flat can swallow over 50% of a full-time salary. And it's not just the big cities anymore. Rising prices have spilled into smaller towns and rural areas, driving up costs everywhere. What's worse is the quality. Tens of thousands live in damp, mold-infested flats with broken heating and dodgy wiring. Housing inspections are rare, enforcement is weak, and landlords often face no real consequences. Meanwhile, thousands remain homeless, living in temporary shelters or even hotels due to council housing shortages. Government schemes like Help to Buy and First Homes sound promising, but they often inflate prices further or exclude the very people they're supposed to help. And with interest rates rising, mortgage repayments are now out of reach for many who were previously on the edge of qualifying. And let's not forget about the mental toll. The constant uncertainty, the instability, the feeling of being stuck. It's exhausting. Home should be a refuge, not a source of stress. It's a broken system, where you pay more for less and still feel like you're chasing something you'll never catch. So if having a stable home feels more like a lifelong battle than a basic human right, maybe the question isn't, when will I afford it? But, where else might it be possible? Number 7. Climate change and environmental neglect. You don't need to be a scientist to see the signs. The UK is changing, and fast. Floods are no longer once in a lifetime. They're annual. Towns like York, Shrewsbury, and parts of Wales now brace for water levels the way other places prepare for snow. Summers are turning deadly, with record-breaking heat waves scorching cities unprepared for extreme temperatures. And let's not forget the wildfires tearing through previously untouched countryside. These aren't just extreme weather events, they're warnings, and the UK is falling behind in its response. Despite ambitious climate targets, the actual action is far slower. Fossil fuel subsidies persist. Promises to phase out gas boilers have been delayed. Investment in renewable energy is inconsistent, and recycling infrastructure remains outdated and underfunded. Politicians talk green but act gray. And what's the result? Rising asthma rates from polluted air, coastal erosion threatening entire communities, water shortages in the southeast. The environmental neglect isn't just hurting nature, it's hitting people. Homes destroyed, health compromised, futures uncertain. Schools are closing because of extreme heat. Elderly people are dying during summer spikes. Insurance premiums are climbing in high-risk flood zones. The costs are no longer theoretical, they're showing up in your bills, your health, and your peace of mind. Meanwhile, other countries are adapting faster. They're building sustainable cities, investing in clean public transport, and incentivizing green lifestyles. They're not just surviving climate change, they're preparing for it. But here in the UK, people are still debating if it's real while watching their gardens turn to dust or their basements into swamps. Ask yourself, do you want to live somewhere fighting for the future or a country still arguing over the present? Because when the ground beneath your feet is literally eroding, it might be time to look elsewhere for solid ground. Number 8. Declining quality of life metrics. How do you measure a good life? It's not just about money or success, it's about how you feel day to day. And for millions in the UK, that feeling isn't good anymore. The latest World Happiness Report ranks the UK lower than countries like Finland, Canada, and even Costa Rica. Why? Because happiness, well-being, and quality of life are deeply connected to things the UK is struggling to provide: affordable living, reliable healthcare, a sense of safety, and community. Mental health issues are spiking. Anxiety, depression, and burnout have become part of daily vocabulary, even among teenagers. NHS mental health services are stretched so thin, many people wait months just for a first appointment. And for those in crisis, help often comes too late. Work-life balance is deteriorating. People are working longer hours just to make ends meet, taking fewer holidays, and dealing with constant stress. Parents are stretched between jobs and childcare, and young professionals are burning out in their 20s. Public spaces are deteriorating. Green areas are shrinking, local libraries are closing, and cultural programs are being slashed from budgets. These aren't just luxuries. They're lifelines for community, mental health, and joy. Now compare that to places like the Netherlands or New Zealand. Countries that invest heavily in social infrastructure, promote mental well-being, and actually prioritize work-life balance. They see higher satisfaction levels, stronger communities, and healthier citizens. It all adds up. Life in the UK is becoming harder, not just economically, but emotionally. And when your emotional well-being declines alongside your financial security, it's not just a bad phase, it's a warning sign. So when people leave the UK, it's not always for more money. Sometimes it's simply for more peace, a better quality of life, a chance to breathe. Because life shouldn't feel like survival. It should feel like living. Number 9. Better opportunities abroad. Not every move is an escape. Sometimes it's a step towards something better. While life in the UK feels increasingly difficult, other countries are rolling out the red carpet for skilled workers, remote professionals, and families seeking more stability. Portugal offers tax breaks and a relaxed pace of life. Canada is actively welcoming immigrants with family-friendly policies and booming job markets. Australia and New Zealand provide strong wages, better work-life balance, and sunshine nearly all year round. The rise of remote work has changed the game completely. More people are realizing they can earn UK-level salaries while living in countries with a lower cost of living and higher quality of life. Imagine making the same income while paying half for rent, groceries, and health care. That's not a dream. It's the reality for thousands who've already made the move. And it's not just for digital nomads or retirees. Countries like Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands are investing in skilled migration, offering English-speaking jobs, streamlined visa processes, and integration support. They're not just tolerating newcomers, they're planning for them. Beyond the financial aspect, there's something else. Potential. In many countries, career progression is faster, education systems are more supportive, and public infrastructure actually works. You can build a life without constant compromise or financial anxiety. Plus, for those with families, the difference is even more stark. Cleaner air, safer streets, better schools, and access to nature are just the start. Your kids can grow up in places where playtime isn't a luxury and where the future feels bright, not burdened. So while staying in the UK might feel like the safe choice, more people are starting to ask, is it really? Because when the grass is genuinely greener on the other side, and more affordable too, it might be time to hop the fence. Number 10. Escaping the island mentality. There's something unspoken about life in the UK, an invisible ceiling, a feeling of cultural tightness that many don't realize they're living under until they leave. It's called the island mentality, a subtle but powerful sense of isolationism, a national habit of looking inward rather than outward. And while it once fueled resilience and independence, today it can feel more like a cage than a shield. For a long time, the UK has held on to a kind of post-imperial pride, clinging to the idea that British is best, even as global innovation, education, and quality of life race ahead elsewhere. The result? A society that often resists change, distrusts outsiders, and struggles to adapt to a fast-moving world. This mentality filters into daily life. It shows up in education systems that focus more on tradition than global relevance, in media that paints the outside world as dangerous or chaotic, in politics driven more by nostalgia than vision. Even conversations can feel small. There's often suspicion of ambition, skepticism toward foreigners, and discomfort with bold ideas. It creates an environment where mediocrity feels safe, and where stepping out of the box can be quietly discouraged. But for those who've lived or worked abroad, the difference is night and day. In countries like Sweden, Singapore, or Germany, there's a forward-looking mindset, one that embraces globalism, invests in innovation, and celebrates multiculturalism as a strength, not a threat. Leaving the UK isn't just about economics, it's also about mental and cultural expansion. It's about experiencing systems that work, people who think differently, and ideas that aren't trapped in the past. Because sometimes, to grow, you need to leave the island. And when the culture around you starts to feel like a wall instead of a window, maybe it's time to find a place that opens up your view, not narrows it. So, if you had the chance to start fresh somewhere else, would you take it? Or are you still holding out hope that things will change here? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. We actually read them, and they shape what we make next. If this hit home, go check out our last video. It dives deep into the best countries to move to before 2030. We put real time, heart, and research into every one of these videos, so if you felt something today, please hit subscribe. It's just one click, but it means everything to us.